Hi, James. Welcome to Owners Club Member Spotlight Interviews. We're so excited to chat with you today, and we can't wait to learn more about you and primepaw, your business. So, if you don't mind telling the audience who you are, what you do, and what your business is all about.
My name is James Baybayan. I'm the owner of primepaw LLC. It's a dog training company that I've scaled. We do lots of behavior and training within all of our programs, from a puppy school, group classes. We do off-leash dog walking. We have a doggy daycare, private dog training, and pretty much just everything behavior and training revolving around dogs and their guardians.
Amazing. And is there a certain type of dog or temperament or size or age that you serve, or do you serve all dogs?
Um, that's always a common question that we kind of get, in terms of like the style of dog. Um, we look at behavior and personality as just a thing on its own, and whatever type of dog it is, we just assess behaviorally. So we have the capabilities of dealing with all types of behaviors, from the extremely shy dogs to aggression cases, which we're one of the few facilities in San Francisco that services aggressive dogs, and everything in between, from just your normal companion animal. But we deal with various different behaviors, of all kinds.
Amazing. And what does primepaw have on the horizon? What are some new things that you're launching? What's the team up to and creating?
So we're in this cool creative scaling stage right now within the operation. Um, the thing that we just recently launched, we launched middle of last year. We launched our doggy daycare program, which is doing amazing. We're at full capacity on that side of the department, which is a great problem to have. We also recently launched our private dog training vertical, looking to scale that avenue of business. So private training entails a trainer going into someone's home or doing it at our facility. And it's one-on-one tailored services for the guardian and their companion animal.
Amazing. Yeah, you guys have a lot in store. I feel like you've been busy expanding primepaw just from its core function of what it was for the past few years of group classes in a facility, which is amazing to see. And you also recently launched the overnight boarding, right?
Yeah, overnight boarding. We've never thought of it as a viable like extension of our products that we serve. But what the way I've envisioned dog boarding, and it's always been like that, is it's an incentivized, commission based service that is paid almost directly to our employees who are performing at a high level. So that's kind of how I envisioned dog boarding. But we're looking to scale that portion as well. But of course, utilizing it as an incentivized piece of entity for like our associates um, and guardians that need it.
Amazing. So, as your business coach, I know a little bit about the current state of your business, but the next set of questions is all about kind of where you came from, which I'm actually really excited to learn. So, walk me through the origin story of your professional career and how you got to creating primepaw.
Yeah, so this is an interesting kind of piece within my story as a whole. Um, Originally moved to San Francisco back in 2004 to go the general school route. Was in the university, so SF State for a good while. Just a lost kind of young kid, moving to a big dense city. I worked at a pet store during that time and had a dog that I had adopted for the first time, back in 2005. And all I wanted to do was train Diego, all day, every day. That's all I wanted to do. And realized that I had a skill that I never knew I had. And actually, um, before I adopted Diego, I was terrified of animals from the age of 10
Oh, no way.
to 18. Age of 10, I got mauled by a pit bull. Um,
Wow.
the only time I've ever been in an ambulance in my life. So 10 to 18 had an extreme fear around animals, especially dogs. Um, and I started hanging around with my buddy's dog who just had a litter of puppies, and just slowly, I guess if you could look at it from a science perspective of what I do, I slowly desensitized and counter conditioned myself to overcome my fear in slow approximation. So adopted Diego, he's the one that really just kind of catapulted me into realizing that I had a skill that I never knew I had. Took him to a bunch of training classes. Had took a job at the local pet store, so kind of seeing what was happening within the Bay Area in terms of pet services. And dog walking was a big, viable career that everyone was kind of doing. It was like a booming service in the San Francisco Bay Area, and kind of my brain doing what it does is just churning numbers, going like, what, you want 25 dogs a day and $30 a dog or $40 a dog. So my brain's just like, whoa, that's X amount of dollars every single day. Um, so that I, jumped out of school. I dropped out. Told my parents that I was going to pursue this dog thing, and I pursued dog walking. So I just started dog walking for friends, anyone who would come to the pet store asking for dog walking services. I ended up just walking dogs. Then from there, took an internship at the SFSPCA, and the SFSPCA and their internship program is really what catapulted my career into realizing that I could turn this into um, something bigger than what I had expected. So, as a dog walker, turned it into an internship. The internship turned into a full time job on the behavior team at the SFSPCA. And another cool thing that I always want to add is that the facility that we're in right now, in the back room, which we call Classroom C now at primepaw, I trained my very first dog in that Classroom C as a volunteer in the internship program. So, and now we inhabit the
Wow.
space. SPCA is our landlord. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like, long story short, like kind of how my career catapulted into just working with dogs. But owe it a lot to the SPCA and then the very unorthodox way of me going into internship, which was free, and then just learning under amazing mentors while my time at the SPCA.
Amazing. I kind of want to dial into that time a little bit more. So when, why, and how did you make the leap from being a volunteer and working at the SPCA to actually getting this facility? How did that happen? Because for those of you that don't know, it's a big facility and you help hundreds of dogs through it on a weekly basis. So tell me a little bit how you made that leap, how you got the facility, and how you knew you wanted to run this business.
Yeah, so working full time at the SFSPCA, I was probably doing 40, 50 hours a week during that time as a behavior specialist there. Um, I was still running services on the side. I was doing a full time job as well as trying to gain clients, gain experience doing private training and also doing dog walking. Okay, so that's all I was doing was going into people's homes, doing private one-on-one sessions, and then I had developed a group dog walking experience under Prime Paw, where we would pick up dogs that um, are at home, high-rise condos, apartment buildings, people who are working in office. So we'd pick up their dogs, and we would take them to off-leash area dog parks where we can take them on hikes and stuff. Um, it wasn't till the point where an influx of clients just continued to come in, and it became a point. Did it for 2 years. I was doing full time. I probably was running like 80, 90 hours a week for
Wow.
2 years straight. um, I think that's like one of my strengths and can be one of my weaknesses in terms of just like go 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 go. I just felt that this was like my opportunity to really make a jump from a bigger corporate entity to learning how to map out my own project and my own journey. So once it kind of felt like I could make the big leap into just doing my own services and having a solid base of clientele, that's when I made that jump from leaving the SPCA and then just going full fledged prime paw and developing the business.
Amazing. I feel like that's so important to underscore too, where you were doing two things at once and you've always had this entrepreneurial spirit of something running on the side while stabilizing your lifestyle basically with sustainable known income of just having a job. What are some of the biggest learnings, wins, struggles of starting Prime Paw? What have been the hurdles? Maybe we can start there and learnings, and then what have been some of the moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I built this.
Yeah, I think um, just the humble beginnings of prime paw. I really didn't think it was gonna scale into anything more with just myself. It really was like I have something. I'm pretty comfortable. It was just me doing it, and of course, me just researching and just seeing like, oh, what does it take to get an employee? Like, how can I hire one employee? So I did tons of research in that. And I was like, I think I could hire somebody. So I ended up hiring two people, and then started to figure out kind of the puzzling pieces on how to like gain more clients, but at the same time pay two employees and then figure out operations. So it just like turned into a more, I mean, more of a puzzling of things just to make things a bit more comfortable. Uh, so I made that jump to hire two employees. And I think the biggest struggles was when the facility was coming into play. As you mentioned, it's a large facility at about 4,400 square feet in San Francisco. And so realizing that we were going to be dealing with like such huge numbers was like a big struggle. Being a company that was almost like very like pre-startup, um, we didn't have the funds, we didn't have a lot of the backing of just like funding was like probably the biggest hurdle.
Yeah.
My mom during that time when the SPCA got rid of their training program and had other businesses kind of put in their business plans, we submitted our business plan knowing that we were going to be the complete underdog going into it. Um, Submitted the business plan. The deposit that we had was during that time, my mom just had sold her childhood home. So grandma and grandpa's home just got sold. They split it 5 ways amongst her brothers and sisters. That money was the deposit for the facility itself. But submitted the business
Wow.
plan. We originally did not get picked, um, and so that's like was a big blow to me. Kind of went off and was like, okay, it wasn't meant to be. Kind of all in my emotional feelings. I was crying a bunch and was like, okay, there's going to be a time where it'll happen. Um, 2 days later, SPCA called me back and was like, hey, the original people that had signed the lease are backing out. And
Wow.
they backed out. I went and visited the space. I already had knew what the space was like. It was a multi-purpose room, amazing space. Again, I trained my first dog in there as a volunteer. Ended up moving forward um, with the signing of the lease, and that was January 2020. And we all
Wow.
know what happened 2 months after that. So like things were like good. So it was like this huge emotional roller coaster leading up to signing the lease. March 2020 came. 2 months later, barely beginning to get our bearings going, and the world shut down. Um, so then now I was even more tasked with something even bigger. At that time, I had 2 employees, about to hire my third employee, and I wanted to quit. I was like, I think there's no way we can do this with a rent as big as what we have to deal with, and we have to pay it. I just didn't know how we were gonna get out of this situation that we were in. My brother gave me an amazing talk. I had um, some backings of some senior instructors that are still with me till this day that we went through the same internship, and I just put my head down and was like, let's just give it a go. I had the mindset of hiring more employees right at March 2020 and just keeping going and trying to run services um, for our clients that needed it. And in 2020, by the end of the year, I had scaled and tripled my staff to 12 employees by
Wow.
the end of 2020. So seemed crazy, but yeah, I tripled my staff during the heart of the pandemic, and then was still realizing that like, okay, we just have to keep going and going and going. Finally reached to the point where like I need help, and that's where Forever Young Agency came into play after that. But like the struggles
Amazing.
of yeah, getting the facility, building it up, pandemic, and then trying to push right through it.
Wow, I didn't know most of that. That is incredible that you were able to scale despite so many things being on hold or just completely halted. Have there been moments where you've been able to step back and celebrate some of the small wins? I imagine one of them being that growth throughout 2020, but has there been any other things over the past 3 years that have been almost like milestone moments for Prime Paw?
Oh yeah, there's just so many. Yeah, it's hard for me to like not even like get emotional about it. Because I'm like super proud of the project. Um, yeah, just looking back at it and just having the grit, the perseverance to move through all the challenges has been super big. I reflect on the whole process all the time and just like, wow, it's like it's a viable operation that's needed in the community, and then the response that we're getting from the community is super heartfelt and amazing. So like that just reassures that my vision and journey is on course and on its way to continually providing for the greater dog community. Um, and just the overall like help that I've been getting, especially with from you, Young, my mentors, and then now clients, and then now the community is responding to it. So like, um, yeah, just staying humble in the process, enjoying the journey, and then just continually learning from every situation that comes through is really all I can do. And then some other learning moments that David has always told me too is like I'm only controlling what I can control, and like the situation, just like what happened with the pandemic, because like stuff is gonna happen. Like knowing that we persevered and got through it is an amazing milestone to just always look back on.
Yeah, it's so true. Um, that's amazing to hear. And this kind of segues to my next question. What were some of the critical players and moments that helped you scale? I know you mentioned your brother, your mom, others that have surrounded you. What advice have you sought out from people, and what have been some moments or pieces of wisdom that have really influenced Prime Paw?
what really has influenced Prime Paw is the ability to just really be vulnerable and asking for help. Um, I mean, knowing that the the business that I started as a solo project, and then the vision of wanting to scale or get it bigger or just working as a team, right? I've worked on so many teams in numerous amounts of jobs that I almost wanted to take a culmination of all the jobs that I've ever done, especially with my um, career working with animals, the SFSPCA, just taking every little bits and pieces of it and then turning into a vision of how I want to run my own company. So that's kind of the how I've envisioned everything within the operation is that like there are learning moments, not just for the guardians, but just tons of learning that can happen internally for the associates and team members. So um, I received a lot of my behavior and training. Again, I always say just an unorthodox way. I got it for free. I'm able to get mentorship. So a lot of the things that we do on the associate level, learning can happen internally while you're an employee, which is huge for growth on aspiring trainers as well as people who just want to continually grow around dogs.
That makes a lot of sense. I guess one question that I have that's a bit off topic, but I think very important to hit on is from the way that you've learned dog training and the city that you're in, people love their pets. There are lots of facilities that cater to animals, especially in large cities like San Francisco. How have you differentiated Prime Paw from others? Because I know you guys have a very specific training philosophy and method that is shown through all of your services. So, do you mind just hitting on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, so within dog training in general, this is a very unregulated industry. Okay, and this is
Yeah.
something that we always constantly educate the safety and education around animals and the style of training that's out there. So we do positive reinforcement is really our stance on the way we deal with animals. It's the most humane way to go about it. We're never going to argue the fact that punishment based training doesn't work. It works at a very, very high level. It's just the outcome of how the animal responds to things. Respond respond based out of fear, or they can be responding out of reinforcement. Okay, so we always look at the aspect of reinforced based training as the most viable way to go about it. And the way we've positioned Prime Paw is around education and safety. We're constantly educating. We're constantly opening ourselves up to be, again, a viable resource for any kind of questions or situations that are happening with a guardian and their animal. And we just coach because at the end of the day, our biggest vision is to continually provide for the dog community and to improve the human animal bond. It's just my intention and purpose in what I do, and we keep at it every day with those kind of goals in mind.
I love it. Thank you. Um, okay, I've got two more questions for you. How has Owners Club helped? I know you referred to it as FYA earlier, which has since evolved with the small business owners into Owners Club. So, do you mind explaining a little bit how Owners Club has helped not only you but also Prime Paw?
Yeah. Again, and kind of going back to like the struggles of things, right? Like in asking and needing help. And a best friend of mine was part of Owners Club, I believe, a couple years before I started. And Mike was just kind of like nonchalant about it, which I've come around to being like, hey, you gotta like promote this thing even better because it's amazing. Um, And he was kind of just nonchalant about it, like, hey, I'm in this thing, you might need but business coaching. And I'm like, whatever, I got it. I'm doing this by myself. Like, that's kind of was my mentality, just building the whole entire thing. And it came to the point where, like, Paul really was in a very dangerous place. Kind of in the red. We were kind of just continuing to just churn services, trying to create new products. Um, but month after month, we were losing money, which is to be expected with a business coming into like a new facility. We're still in the pandemic, but there was only so much more months where we could take the losses that we were taking before we probably have to close the doors or seek more funding. So after I think like 3 times talking to Mike, he was like, "Hey, you might want to talk to Young." Just he's just kind of like saying it in that way, but like not trying to sell the thing. And one day I was just like, "Hey, that business coach that you're talking about, like, I'd be open for a discovery call." Um, did a discovery call with Young. It was like 20, 30 minutes. We had really nice initial conversation. He seemed like a company that he'd be willing to work with the stipulation on that meeting of being like, we need to control everything. Like, you can't touch no money. We're going to control all of the stuff. And I was like, uh, I don't know if that's going to happen because that's like me and the control and all that stuff. Like, it had to learn to like kind of let that go. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, signed up with Young and Owners Club, got familiar with the dashboard immediately. Had lots of tasks and things to kind of accomplish, and it seemed like we've already kind of gotten the wheels on the vehicle. It just needed to be tightened and aligned and kind of tuned up, and that's where Young and you and Jamie, you guys, have just been super instrumental in our growth. It's given myself kind of a little bit more space mentally to kind of work on bigger things. We have tons of systems in place now that really looks like a viable company. Yeah, operations are very tight, and yeah, we're looking towards just continuing to scale and providing high quality services to the dog community.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for the kind words and going into that for us. My last question for you is, what would you say to business owners out there on why they should join Owners Club? Who do you think it would be helpful for? What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I think some sort of mentorship in general is highly important in everyday aspect, whether you're a business owner or just a normal just aspiring person in general. I think just mentorship in general is needed. Um, but with Owners Club itself and kind of what was the say the prompt again? Sorry, maybe.
Yeah, no, it's all good. What would you say to business owners out there on why they should join Owners
Why?
Club?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just the help, right? That's needed, and really framing everything and organizing the hectic things that do happen in a business or in a business owner's kind of mindset to really allow for things to slow down and to work on task oriented things. The dashboard, I always talk about the dashboard. To me, I look at it as like a video game. I've explained that over and over to you and Young. It's a video game to me. So like, I want to win in a video game, and it's so organized in the things that you need to accomplish that it moves the needle towards bigger things. And once you understand that and really organize things in smaller increments, it shapes for bigger tasks and projects to be accomplished. And kind of that's the biggest takeaway that I've noticed from it. It's really changed my mindset as a business owner. It's also allowed me, again, more mental space to think about bigger projects that could potentially happen within the company, and as well as just really building solid systems in place. And now I have an amazing team that I can kind of go back and forth with. It's no longer a solo show. There's so much more creativity that's being involved in it, and the artistry of how to build a business. And at the end of the day, it's becoming to be just a really, really fun journey overall.
Sweet, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. James, it was a pleasure to speak with you and connect with you. I learned so much about your story despite knowing quite a bit already, so I really appreciate the time you took, and I'm excited for everyone to hear it as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Maeve.
Bye, James.
Hey, bye.